شروع کرتے ہیں. بسم اللہ. الذين استجابوا لله ورسوله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الذين استجابوا لله والرسول من بعد ما أصابهم القرح للذين أحسنوا منهم واتقوا أجر عظيم. الذين قال لهم الناس إن الناس قد جمعوا لكم فاخشوهم فزادهم إيمانا وقالوا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. فانقلبوا بنعمة من الله وفضل لم يمسسهم سوء واتبعوا رضوان الله. فانقلبوا بنعمة من الله وفضل لم يمسسهم سوء واتبعوا رضوان الله والله ذو فضل عظيم. إنما ذلكم الشيطان يخوف أولياءه فلا تخافوهم وخافون إن كنتم مؤمنين. ولا يحزنك الذين يسارعون في الكفر إنهم لن يضروا الله شيئا يريد الله ألا يجعل لهم حظا في الآخرة ولهم عذاب عظيم. إن الذين اشتروا الكفر بالإيمان لن يضروا الله شيئا ولهم عذاب أليم. ولا يحسبن الذين كفروا أنما نملي لهم خير لأنفسهم إنما نملي لهم ليزدادوا إثما ولهم عذاب مهين. ما كان الله ليذر المؤمنين على ما أنتم عليه حتى يميز الخبيث من الطيب وما كان الله ليطلعكم على الغيب ولكن الله يجتبي من رسله على من يشاء فآمنوا بالله ورسله وإن تؤمنوا واتقوا فلكم أجر عظيم ولا يحسبن الذين يبخلون بما آتاهم الله من فضله وهو خيرا لهم ولا يحسبن الذين يبخلون بما آتاهم الله من فضله هو خيرا لهم بل هو شر لهم سيطوقون ما بخلوا به يوم القيامة ولله ميراث السماوات والأرض والله بما تعملون خبير صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغ رسوله النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Jazakallah, brother Faiz. Allah give you reward for this beautiful recitation. Make your life beautiful, inshallah. So we are continuing a topic in which these are the incidents after the Battle of Uhud. As we had discussed earlier, that after what had happened after the Battle of Badr, that the robe or the majesty of Islam spread all over Arabia. Like before that, Muslims were considered weak and people who were prosecuted, but that changed the whole game after Battle of Badr, that people took Islam more seriously and they realized it is a force to reckon with. But things change again after the Uhud. Like those allies of Quraysh, they started again showing their bold attitude against Islam, and many incidents happened. So right after the Battle of Uhud, the Quraysh came with a 3,000 strong army, but even after their victory, they could not find courage to attack Medina. So they went back to Mecca. But now they engaged, when Abu Sufyan was retreating, he gave a challenge to Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that again, tomorrow, next year, we will meet again in the Badr. And Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam responds that yes, we will meet. And this Battle of Uhud took place in the 3rd year of Hijrah, and 4th year of Hijrah, Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, marched Sahaba Ikram all the way to Badr. But Abu Sufyan, never showed up. And what happened that although the battle never took place, so in 2nd year of Hijrat, Battle of Badr took place. This battle, which was a decisive battle, is called the big Battle of Badr. And in the 3rd year of Hijrat, it was Uhud that took place, the Battle of Uhud, which was fought right in the vicinity of Medina. And in this 4th year of Hijrat, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam marched with his Sahaba to the Badr. And just to distinguish this battle not battle, but the show of force that was supposed to take place in Badr. So it is called the minor Badr or Badr al-Sughra, in which but what had happened, since Abu Sufyan or the Quraysh did not show up, so Badr was not only a suitable battleground, but it was also a trading ground. The reason for that is that on the route from Makkah to Medina, Badr was the pit stop that, they had some water sources in it. It was sort of a mini oasis. So people, trade caravans will stop. So the other caravans from the Banu Kanana had showed up. So Muslims, they had also brought some provisions and the trade goods. So they traded. So that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning here, that, when they come back فَانْقَلُوا بِنِعْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَفَضْلٍ لَمْ يَمْسَسْهُمْ سُوءٌ وَاتَّبَعُوا رِضْوَانَ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ ذُو فَضْلٍ عَظِيمٍ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning in this particular ayat, so when they return with the grace and bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? They made a good profit from the trade thing, because Abu Sufyan did not show up, and Banu Kanana had that other tribe that had showed up, so they traded goods and they made a good profit out of that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning that. And on the long-term basis, what was happening, that since Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam migrated to Medina, so the Sahabas that moved with him, they were traders, they were very skilled traders. Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrat Abdul Rahman bin Auf. So they started trading in Medina. So Medina, which was not much of a trade center other than the stopover for the Quraysh caravan, but now with those tradespeople who were the expert traders, and so they started living in Medina, and the prosperity started coming, because Medina, before Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam moved, it was very impoverished city. It was impoverished city, firstly because there was a lot of civil war between Aus and Khazraj. Second reason was there were a lot of pandemics that will appear there from time to time. So the weather in Medina was not good. People would get sick very often. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam loved that city of Medina, and he changed the name from Yasrab to Medina to Nabi. And later on, it became shortened into just Medina rather than Medina to Nabi. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam loved the city and loved the people that lived in there. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam praised for the change of weather of Medina, and Medina got the weather changed for good. So all the pandemics they used to come, a plague and all that from time to time, they all vanished, and the weather or the climate changed forever in Medina. And third thing was, it was just an agrarian society. Some people would do limited trade, or they will just grow dates of that. But when the Sahaba Ikrams from Makkah moved there, the Muhajirun, they started engaging in the trade, and it was a very good spot for trading, because it was a spot between Yemen, the southern trade route, versus northern trade route of Syria. So a lot of prosperity came up, and as I said, they have started to learn the trade, and in the minor Badr or Badr Sughra that took place in the fourth, so the Sahabas made a good profit out of it. But now Abu Sufyan, he started a propaganda campaign, and he never showed up himself nor any of his trade caravans, but those people who are heading toward Badr. So he told them false news that a big gathering a big army that will show up in Badr and crush them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning that, when these Sahaba Ikrams heard that a big Quraysh army and their allies are coming, so it even strengthened their iman. So they innama zalikum shaytana yaqufu awliyahu. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that shaitan, and he tried to cast fear among Muslims by saying that there's a big army coming. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fala khawfuhum wa khafuni, do not fear them, but rather fear if you are a Muslim. So a Muslim, true Muslim, he doesn't fear about any armies and all that, although they had just suffered from a very bad damage at the Uhud, like 70 Sahaba Ikrams were martyred there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this is mentioning that allazina stajabu lillahi wa rasuli min ba'di ma asabihum al-qara. When the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam called them for jihad, they marched with them. They did not say, oh, we have just suffered so other than the hypocrites who stayed behind, but the two Sahabas, they marched right with him all the way to Badr. وَلَا يَحْزُنكَ الَّذِينَ يَسَارِعُونَ فِي الْكُفْرِ. So those people who haste and call the answer for the kufr, because now what had happened, those people who join the ranks of Islam, for hypocritical reasons, for materialistic reasons, because they thought, Islam will give them strength, a military strength, a stability with them. But basically they were hypocrites, and because their interest was not in there, because uh, Abdullah bin Ubay, he was supposed to be crowned the king of Medina. So that's why when Islam came to Medina, his dream of becoming the king of Medina faded. His uncle, Abu Amr Fasir, he wanted to convert people of Medina from paganism to Christianity, because he himself had converted to Christianity. So when Islam spread in Medina, so his dream of converting Ansar into Christianity again faded. And there were other people whose interest was, being a chief and all that. So that was all compromised. So they became hypocrites. And these hypocrites, when they used to come, what they used to do is they will tuck small idols into their armpits, and they came to pray behind Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to do Rafa Yadain. So those people who had tucked these idols in their armpits, when Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did Rafa Yadain, so they had to follow him, and what they had done, that tucked the idols into their armpits, that fell down. So that's why Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not do the Rafa Yadain before that, and did not do it after that. So Imam Shafi'i and Imam Abu Hanifa, they had a different approach to it. Imam Abu Hanifa was of a opinion that Rafa Yadain was only to distinguish between hypocrites and Muslims. So we do not need to do that, because that problem no longer exists. But Imam Shafi'i, he took an approach that it is Sunnah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, so we should do it. So he incorporated in his namaz the Rafa Yadain. So that was something, a different interpretation, but the root of that was hypocrites tucking the idols into their armpits. And as we move further, so those people who had started showing the true colors, because now the fear, Abdullah bin Ubay, Raisul Munafiqin, the chief of the hypocrites, he had declared that he has converted to Islam right after the Badr, because after Badr, everybody owed Muslims in a very high esteem, that they defeated the most powerful tribe of Arabia, Quraysh. So he realized that times are changing. It is a good time to declare that I'm a Muslim. So Abdullah bin Ubay went and declared that he's a Muslim, but he was a hypocrite. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned, Inna allazina ishtaraw al-kufra bil imana lan yadurrullaha shay'a. So those people who choose the kufr or iman, they did not do any harm to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for them there's a severe punishment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَلَا يَحْسَبُنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِنَّمَا نُمْلِي لَهُمْ خَيْرٌ لِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Those Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like we see people doing kufr and living a very bad life, doing very bad crimes. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving them, ease them, or he's sort of not despite for them. It doesn't mean Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is granting them any favor, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to accumulate more sins, because these are the evildoers. So it has happened that in the past, all the people such as Namrud, Pharaoh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them an easy hand. So, but when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command came, so they were all destroyed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that those people who are not getting the punishment right away, do not think of them that it is good for them. Allah wants to increase their sins, and Allah will not leave them. مَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَنْزُلَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ عَلَى مَا أَنْتُمْ عَلَيْهِ حَتَّى يُمِيزُ الْخَبِيثَ مِنَ الطَّيِّبِ. So now that was a time that it was a very hard time for Muslims, because Muslims were there and right among their ranks was the hypocrites. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying that, he's not gonna let the situation linger on for a long time until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala separate the kufr from iman. And that's what happened, that in the later time, that eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala led to a situation in which that all the hypocrites who declared themselves that they are Muslims, they eventually died. Right? The chief of hypocrites was Abdullah bin Ubay, but his son, he was a devout Muslim, and he converted, and he said that, if one time son of Abdullah bin Ubay felt that his father had disrespected Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, so he went right to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that if you order me, I will cut his head and bring it to your feet. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam forbade him and says, no, I would never want that. So, and the uncle of Abdullah bin Ubay, who was Abu Amir Fasiq, who had converted to Christianity, his own son was a very true Muslim, and his name was Hunzala, and he had died in the battle of Uhud, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the highest rank by sending angels from heavens to bathe him. They did the apostle from there. So eventually, that whole problem of hypocrites, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala separated them. So Nabi Muhammad did not divulge the name of hypocrites to anybody except Huzaifa bin Yaman. And Huzaifa bin Yaman, again, he kept it secret from the people. And another in this وَلَا يَحْسَبُنَّ الَّذِينَ يَبْخُلُونَ بِمَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. And those people who are miser, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them a lot of bounty, but they do not spend in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do not think that it is good for them. They think that they will save their money for their own thing, but this becomes actually a burden on them in the hereafter, because those people who do not give their zakat, they do not give a fitrana, they do not give their a charity, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put a chain around their neck in the hereafter. So what they have accumulated, and will actually punish them. So such was the case with kuffar. Like some of the kuffar were very rich people, but they were very minor. They do not have any soft heart for the any. On the other hand, the Muslims, the Sahaba Ikrams, and the Sahaba Ikram, the way they describe the generosity of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is that in those days, a figure of speech was that when you want to describe a very generous person, you will say that his generosity was a blowing wind. And that's what Sahaba Ikrams used to describe, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his generosity was like a blowing wind, and he was most generous when the Ramadan come. He would increase the charity, all that. He will not. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, our Lord Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he lived a life of poverty in his childhood and youth year. But when he got married to Hazrat Bibi Khatija, she was the richest lady in Makkah. And what she did, after the marriage, she put all the, brought all the money, all the valuables, and put it in the feet of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Say, whatever I have is yours. You can spend it the way you want it. So what did Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did? He was the most generous of all the person ever lived and will ever come in this world. So he did not choose a lavish lifestyle, but all the money he got, he spent it for helping poor people, destitute people, and all the people who are really needy people. And that's how he never lived a lavish style. He never spent his money on expensive clothes. And such was the case with his Sahabas Ikram, because we did all the Sahabas in the Battle of Tabuk. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam appealed for, because it was a first battle in which Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam marched toward Rome to fight with the powerful Roman Empire. So he appealed for any donations. So Hazrat Umar Farooq, he said that, this time they were always competing, Hazrat Umar Farooq and Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, in terms of good deeds. Hazrat Abu Bakr wants to do the good deeds more, but Hazrat Umar Farooq want to take a lead and say that, I will do better than him. So Hazrat Umar Farooq had a thought in his mind that this time I will beat Abu Bakr Siddiq in doing good things. What I will do, since Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has appealed for a donation, what I will do, all my assets, I will divide them into half. Half of them I will keep it for my family, and half of them I will donate it. So he brought half of all his provisions to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked Umar Farooq, what have you brought? So he said, half of all my valuables I've brought, and half of that I've left it for my family. Then Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq walked in, and he brought some valuables. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked him that, what did you leave for your family behind? So Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq said, I've left Allah and His Prophet for my family. So he brought the whole of his thing. So such was the generosity of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq. And same goes with Hazrat Usman Ghani, that in the same battle of Tabuk, I'm not remembering that, but I think he donated 950 camels laden with stuff for this expedition. And he also donated 1,000 gold coins with that. One Sahabi, these are the rich Sahabis. One Sahabi was very poor, and he would work on one of the date gardens of a Jewish person. So he earned in the today's term, we can say 2 sa or 2 kilos of dates. So that he earned. So he gave half of that, 1 kilo in today's measurement, for his family, and he brought the half of that to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, just to honor him, he said, these dates, put it on the top of the pile, just to honor him. So his 1 kilo of dates was not looked down upon, but he was shown the highest thing. Hazrat Abdul Rahman bin Auf, he was the richest of the Sahabi. So the rich Sahabis was Abdul Rahman bin Auf, Hazrat Usman Ghani, and the son of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, Talha bin Ubaidullah. So Talha bin Ubaidullah again was a very successful merchant. He was a cloth merchant, and he was very generous. The generosity that was taught to him by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he would, he was a very successful trader, a successful businessman, but as inspired by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he will often forgive the loans of the people who could not repay it. He would give a lot of money in the generosity. So generosity, bashfulness, these are one of the 2 key elements of Iman. Iman, like generosity, is an indication of Iman. And if you look at all the Awliya Ikram, Ghaus al-Azam Dastagir Pirani, he is called Dastagir, means a helper. So with his money, he was again a businessman by trade. So he will often give so much charity that people, give him a title of Dastagir. Khaja Gharib Nawaz, he would help poor with his generosity, that people give him title of Gharib Nawaz. Khaja Banda Nawaz, he would again was so generous that people gave him title of Banda Nawaz. And Khaja Muhammad Siddiq Mahbubullah, because of generosity, people gave him the title of Khaja Bekas Nawaz, means the patron of the helpless people. So generosity again is a important ingredient of Iman. It is so we move on. And if we continue, the previous ayat, in which we read that, Ma kana Allahu liyanzura al-mu'minuna ala ma antum alayhi hatta yamizul khabisa min at-tayyib. Allah will separate the hypocrites from the, and Allah said, wa ma kana Allahu liyatnu ala al-ghaibi. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not teach you divulge you the ghaib, but Allah will choose a prophet as He chooses. And And if you believe in Allah and His Prophet, there will be great reward. So here the word ghaib, I would like to explain what is ilm al-ghaib. Here, a lot of people talk about it, like, this is ilm al-ghaib, this is ilm al-ghaib, this. What is the correct concept of ilm al-ghaib? Ilm al-ghaib is of three types. Ilm al-ghaib is of three types. The first one is the ilm al-ghaib al-iman. Just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the start of Surah Baqarah, it says that الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying those people who believe in ghaib, or the things which are not seen. So our iman is part of ilm al-ghaib. For example, this is called ilm al-ghaib al-iman. This is the first time in which we believe in things that we have not seen. We have not seen Jannah, but we believe in that. We have not seen Jahannam, but we believe in that. We have not seen angels, but we believe in that. We have not seen anybody going to grave and coming out of the grave, but we believe that in the day of judgment. So all these things are unforeseen to us. But how do we know about that? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tell us that there is a Jannah, there is a Jahannam, there are angels, and we will be resurrected. Is that? So this is the first kind of ilm al-ghaib. It's called ilm al-ghaib al-iman. In the day of judgment, when Jahannam will be brought forth in front of people's eyes, everybody will say, oh, we believe it. But that is not iman. Iman is ilm al-ghaib. They will use the ayn al-yaqeen. They will see it with their eyes, and seeing is believing. But our iman is that before it happens, the day of judgment, we believe in day of judgment. Before we will be resurrected, we believe it. So this is the first kind. And the second kind of ilm al-ghaib is ilm al-ghaib al-khas, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants it to His prophets, His beloved, slave, and and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, many things he prophesied. In his lifetime, he prophesied that Iran will be conquered, and he warned that very soon Iran will be conquered, and be careful, do not go to their public bath, which is called hammam. And he said that don't, because he always taught his Sahaba bashfulness. Another example, there are so many examples I cannot complete, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give a special knowledge of ilm al-ghaib, which we perceive as ilm al-ghaib, or the unforeseen. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was migrating from Makkah and Medina, and Quraysh, when they realized that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has left for Medina, so they put a bounty of 100 camels of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that whoever brings Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to them, they will give 100 camels to them. So there was one person called Saraqa bin Malik. He was the chief of his tribe. So when he heard what he did, he had a very fast horse. So he started chasing Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, and he came. They were traveling on two of the camels. So as he approached them, his horse got stuck in the mud or the sand, and he realized that it's a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that do not do that. So he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, and when he asked for forgiveness, what happens that his horse, who was stuck in the sand, got free. So he turned around and started going back to his tribe. Then again Shaitan told him that you are missing out on 100 camels. So he then turned around and started chasing Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then when he approached near, again his horse got stuck in the sand. So now he realized it and shouted at Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam out loud that please ask, grant me aman nama, means a guarantee of a peace letter. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam granted that, and it says that Quraysh has offered 100 camels as a bounty to you. What would you give me? So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, I give you the bangles of Kasra, which was the king of Persia. And he's going to Medina from Makkah. And later on, when Hazrat Umar Farooq time, when Persia was conquered and all his treasure was brought to Medina, so was the bangles of Kasra, the king of Persia, was also brought there. So Saraqa bin Malik, he came and says that these bangles are mine. So Hazrat Umar Farooq said, how come? So he said that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he was migrating, and when I asked him that Quraysh has put a bounty of 100 camels on you, what would you give me? So he said, I grant you the bangles of Kasra. So Hazrat Umar Farooq asked Saraqa bin Malik, do you have anybody other than you who will give a witness of this hadith? So he brought another Sahabi, and he gave witness that I have heard this hadith. So Hazrat Umar Farooq gave the bangles of Kasra to him. So my point is, those people who say that ilm al-ghaib is with only Allah, yes, the absolute ilm al-ghaib is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but ilm al-ghaib al-khas is with the Prophet, and not only with the Prophet, but a lot of Sahabas, they have demonstrated, what we perceive as ilm al-ghaib. I will give you example of Hazrat Umar Farooq. One day in his Khilafat time, Hazrat Umar Farooq, he was giving the Juma khutbah, and he stopped the khutbah and says, Sariya al-Jabal, Sariya al-Jabal. Sariya was one of the Sahabis, and he said, Sariya, go toward the mountain. Sariya was a commander of Hazrat Umar Farooq. Hazrat Umar Farooq has sent it to conquer Persia. And when he went there, so when he was brought, Sariya came back after the expedition, and he gave the good news that, Persia has been conquered. So he says that what happened in Persia? So he says that Hazrat Sariya said, one time it happened that Persian army surrounded me from the all corners. And I thought I was about to be annihilated because I was cornered by all from sight. So then I heard a voice telling me, Sariya al-Jabal, Sariya, retreat toward the mountain. And I took my army toward the mountain, regroup and counterattack that broke Persian army apart. So Hazrat Umar Farooq was in Medina, and Sariya was in Persia, and he could hear. So what is this? This is again an example of ilm al-ghaib al-khas, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted to some of his beloved slaves, such as Umar Farooq and all that. And ilm al-ghaib al-khas or mutlaq, the absolute is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because for Allah there's nothing ghaib. Like something we do not see is ghaib. So I like to mention that, because here needlessly people don't even have a clue what ilm al-ghaib is. What are the three kinds of ilm al-ghaib? They talk for hours and hours, and he says anybody associated any ilm al-ghaib with anybody, he's a kafir and all that. So we have seen these kind of senseless talk. So that's why we have to, again, I will emphasize, there are three kinds of ilm al-ghaib al-iman, which we all have. Without believing the unseen Jannah, Jahannam, angels, resurrection, we cannot be Muslims. Second thing is ilm al-ghaib al-khas, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted to his prophets, and some Sahaba, some awliyas have shown the sign of ilm al-ghaib al-khas. And ilm al-ghaib al-mutlaq, which is absolute ilm al-ghaib, is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah, I will leave it here, and if there's any questions, I will welcome that.